For 150 years, science was baffled by a fossil that appeared everywhere, yet belonged to nothing. Tiny, sharp, and terrifyingly abundant. They were just teeth, millions of them. But where was the body? What kind of creature left only its horrifying smile scattered across the globe for 500 million years? This wasn't just a missing link. It was a ghost haunting the entire fossil record. Imagine the ancient oceans, 500 million years ago. Life is just beginning to experiment with new forms. Trilobites scuttle across the seafloor. Anomalocaris, the top predator of its time, patrols the waters. But something else is here. Something small, elusive, and everywhere. You wouldn't see it coming. A flicker in the water, a shadow darting past. This is the world of the conodont. For a century and a half, all we knew of them were these microscopic, tooth-like structures. Paleontologists found them in rocks, from the Cambrian all the way to the end of the Triassic. That's a reign of 300 million years, far longer than the dinosaurs. They were so common and evolved so rapidly that geologists used them to date rocks. If you found a specific type of conodont element, you knew exactly how old that layer of Earth was. They were the perfect index fossils. But the mystery was maddening. What kind of animal were they from? Were they the teeth of an early fish? The spines of a slug? The filter-feeding basket of some bizarre, alien-like invertebrate? Theories were wild. Some scientists thought they belonged to a type of worm. Others imagined them as part of a complex jaw apparatus from a creature unlike anything alive today. The elements themselves were incredibly complex. Some looked like simple cones, others like barbed spears, and some were intricate comb-like platforms. They were made of apatite, the same mineral that makes up our own teeth and bones. This suggested they were vertebrates, or at least closely related, but vertebrates have skeletons. Where were the bones? The search was on. A global paleontological detective story spanning generations. For decades, scientists painstakingly pieced together what these tooth collections might have looked like. By finding clusters of different types of elements together, they realized they weren't just random teeth. They formed a complex apparatus, a set of grasping, shearing, and grinding tools. This wasn't the mouth of a simple filter feeder. This was the toolkit of a predator. A micropredator, perhaps, but a predator nonetheless. The apparatus was bilaterally symmetrical, hinting at an animal with a distinct head and a body that moved with purpose. The mystery only deepened. We had the murder weapon, but the culprit was still a phantom. The sheer number of these elements told a story of unbelievable abundance. Whatever the conodont animal was, the ancient oceans were teeming with them. They were a fundamental part of the ecosystem, yet completely invisible to us. Then, in the early 1980s, a breakthrough. In a quarry in Scotland, a fossil was found that changed everything. It was a faint carbon impression, just a smear on a piece of rock. But within that smear was a treasure, a preserved conodont animal, complete with its body. The ghost finally had a face, and it was not what anyone expected. The creature was small, only a few centimeters long. It was slender, eel-like, with a distinct head, a tail fin, and large eyes. And right at the front, nestled in its head, was the fabled conodont apparatus. The mystery was solved. Conodonts were not worms or mollusks. They were primitive, jawless vertebrates. They were our distant cousins. This discovery opened a floodgate of new understanding. We could now see the conodont animal as a living, breathing creature. It was likely a fast, agile swimmer. Its large eyes suggest it was a visual hunter, spotting tiny prey in the murky water. The different shapes of the conodont elements now made sense. The pointed, grasping elements at the front would snag prey, while the blade-like and platform elements, further back, would slice and crush it before swallowing. They were the piranhas of the Paleozoic seas, swarming in huge numbers, a crucial link in the food chain. They were both predator and prey. With the body plan revealed, scientists started finding more, albeit rare, preserved specimens around the world. Each one added more detail. We found evidence of V-shaped muscle blocks along the body, a signature feature of chordates, the group that includes all vertebrates. We found a notochord, the primitive backbone that runs along the animal's length. The conodont was one of the very first creatures to have anything resembling a vertebrate skeleton, even if it was just these hard parts in its mouth. They represent a critical step in our own evolutionary history. Before jaws evolved, creatures like the conodonts developed this complex feeding apparatus. They were an evolutionary experiment that proved incredibly successful, dominating the oceans for 300 million years. But here's the twist. For all their success, their story ends in catastrophe. Conodonts survived multiple mass extinctions, events that wiped out countless other species. They weathered the Ordovician-Silurian extinction, one of the most severe in Earth's history. They pushed through the late Devonian extinction, which decimated the planet's reefs. They were the ultimate survivors, but they couldn't survive the end of the Triassic. About 201 million years ago, a massive extinction event, likely caused by colossal volcanic eruptions, changed the ocean chemistry so drastically that the Conodonts, after their 300-million-year reign, vanished forever. Their disappearance marked the end of an era. The tiny, toothy ghosts that had haunted the fossil record for so long finally faded away. The Conodont story is a perfect example of how science works. It's a tale of a persistent mystery, of clever deduction, and of a sudden, game-changing discovery. They went from being enigmatic, microscopic fragments to being recognized as key players in the story of life. They show us that evolution doesn't always move in a straight line. It experiments with strange and wonderful forms. The Conodonts were one of its most successful, and for a long time, most secret creations. They were a testament to the fact that even the smallest, most unassuming fossil can hold the key to a whole lost world, a world that was ruled not by giants, but by tiny, toothy phantoms. And the ecosystems they left behind would pave the way for the rise of entirely new dynasties of ocean predators.